Hi, hi everybody. Thanks for the opportunity to speak here. Just a quick personal note. I've got an engineering background. Have worked in science for quite a while, and work now for Energy 360, which is a energy utility for Zurich, which has a long history as a gas supplier for Zurich. But we are in the midst of this transformation towards renewable energy supplies, and that, as Evan also mentioned, is a much more fundamental transformation than just changing the energy use. But it's a way of thinking. However, here I am here as a representative of the Netto Null Kollektiv, the Net Zero Collective, which in mindset, I think, builds exactly upon what Andre just presented. And I'll just talk a little bit about our approach. So it's very self-centered, if you excuse me for that, to show what we try to do. He showed exactly retrofit can be profitable, so it doesn't have to be expensive. It doesn't have to be a negative way. To the next slide, please. And it also does not have to be complicated, because complicated also depends on whose perspective you talk about. So who is our client? Who do we talk to? Who do we aim at? And if we go to the next slide and look at the mission, Switzerland is built, it's not refurbished. And when we talk about these challenges, one of the first one is the knowledge gap, so that as many real estate owners, and I talk here about professional ones, the big ones, not the single family home dwellers, they also lack the knowledge about all these different solutions of heating, cooling, PV, electromobility, how to bring it together, the envelope and everything. So this leads to a complexity that we promise we take care of it. So for the end customer, it stays the same or it becomes simpler. Then the next thing is that if you look at the entire value chain, it is indeed possible to develop profitable ecological solutions, but it takes all these things come together. It takes a long-term perspective that you have to aim at. So everybody talks about life cycle approach, but how do you actually integrate that from a financial point of view? So that's very much the contracting model that we use at Energy 360, of investing and then building, operating it for 20, 30 years, but we extend that now to the entire building, to the retrofitting of the entire building, and stand for this life cycle approach in terms of the benefit on the financial side, but also on the ecological side. So in as this collective, we want to be a facilitator for this net zero transformation of the building stock. The main motivation behind this is that and to actually do cool projects that you can go all this way. It's quite complicated. There's a lot of ways to stray off your way, and by bringing a collective of like-minded people and companies together, we try to be able to work together in a better way to actually fulfill these promises. So if you can go to the next slide, please. So the collective, quickly to show what kind of companies are in there. So as I said, Energy 360, energy supplier, long-term contractor with that finances sometimes, but especially takes over the risk of the construction and the operation over 30 years. Then we have a solution provider for PV, in smart PV systems. We have BS2, who's also a prefabricated solar roof provider. We have Swiss Frame, also a provider of new types of bathroom solutions. Sounds strange that this is part of it, but it is, because they integrate heating and cooling into bathrooms, and we have Pumplus, a service provider for real estate companies. And as that, we try to cover the entire value chain, entire life cycles, not only of single buildings, but also of portfolio of buildings. So if we, can you go to the next slide, please? If you look at that, in Switzerland, we have these 6 SIA building phases. And so we try to orientate our offer a bit along these lines. The whole point is that everything is from one hand. So you start with a strategy, or a refurbishment strategy for a single object, where you look at the feasibility of a retrofit, of a deep retrofit. Then you come to the point of decision where you say, okay, well, the investor says, let's do that. And then you realize that whole thing. We want to introduce prefabrication into this, and again, take over the responsibility for that whole cycle, planning, fabrication, and montage on site until the very end. Again, this is something that we're not the only ones doing that. There's others that have this approach, but we try to go a step further, that we also take responsibility for the operation phase, that we say, look, these are the KPIs that we are valued by, that we stand for, and we go and check that with data. And then, if that works out, then we can also go to a portfolio level where much more strategic planning and evaluation come into play. One slide further, please. And so this was the why and the what, and for the end, I'd like to talk about the how. So to do this, we work holistically. So not only across all trades, but across entire value chain, all building components. So it's the building shell, it's the active cells, it's the heating part. It's based on data. So there's many possibilities in the future to work much more digital, to be transparent based on KPIs and focus on life cycle analysis and life cycle data again. Tried and tested in the sense, again, as a collective, we work together. We know how we work. We know how to talk to each other, but we also know what kind of components work together, because the interplay of these different well-known solutions needs adjustment. And so you need to know who you work with and what you work with to get to a higher level, let's say, from an integrated perspective. Then we work in a binding agreement, in the sense that we stand for what we talk. We guarantee results on reduction targets, on return targets, if that's possible from a financial point of view, and we work long term. So one of the key things is that we do not want to stop at the construction level. We want to. This is maybe this is a personal thing. My experience in research has been that you can bring most innovation into the building sector, or into a project, if you are the one who can decide. If we are the ones that can decide how the energy system works, what kind of energy system it is, then we can take responsibility to invest maybe a bit more, do a bit more in the beginning, because we have the longevity to actually benefit from it. And that's the perspective that's needed. And with that, the profitability of projects will come by itself, if we do things right. And so that's the motivation. That's really how we found together. We started this not too long ago to push. It's an experimental collective to really change the way that we work, and it's born out of a annoyance as well, to having to explain things that are fundamental to us again and again, but to work together with other individuals that have a similar mindset and a similar drive. I think the next slide is the last one. Just, yeah, if you want to arrive at net zero at some point, we have to start the countdown now, because as we saw, the longevity of buildings is very, very high. Okay, thanks very much.